Now, I mean, Maisie was amazing. She's fantastic. But now I have the boss. Now I have top tier. Cannot go any higher than that. And to explain Cowboy Bebop, who to me is absolutely so much loved franchise that comes with a lot of pressure. Eric, how do you come to get the license for Cowboy Bebop now?
Well, so we worked with Don't Panic Games out of France, who actually got the license for the game and created the game. We did the English version of the game. So we're working a lot with Don't Panic Games doing some of our licenses that we're doing games in English for, they're bringing over and doing the French language, and vice versa. We're doing English versions of their French games as well. So this one was actually brought to us from them as a partnership, and they did such a great job with it. The artwork in the game, the layout, the game design was so well done. It was easy for us to pick up when it was offered to me.
The fact that it's come fairly recently regarding the Netflix series, is that fortuitous, or do you think I want to ride on the back of whatever happens with the series in Netflix and take advantage of the publicity?
I definitely think it helped, yeah. But, I mean, this is such a beloved anime and story. This was very exciting for me because this is the anime that got me into anime over 20 years ago. So being able to work on this game, bringing this game out, I've demoed this game so many times. Great story. I was at an anime convention earlier this year, teaching the game. This woman walks up to me, starts talking to me about it, and I recognized her voice. Turns out she was Faye Valentine, the voice actress. Whoa. And so she signed my game. And then she said, oh, by the way, Spike's here too. So she brings the game over and has him sign it. So that was very cool.
That's amazing. Okay, well, tell me about the game. How does it work? What does it do?
So this is a deck building game with board game elements to it. And as you can see, they've got these great minis they made for the game. These are the 4 main characters from Cowboy Bebop. You can choose one of the 4 characters, and you get a player board that comes with it. So Jet Black here has different abilities that he can do. And then every character also has a fuel track on their player board. So the really neat thing about that is this is a resource that will last from turn to turn. As you know, in most deck building games, you get your money, your currency, you use that on your turn, and then it wipes clean at the end of each turn. With this, you will play cards to add to your fuel track, and that is a resource that stays with you from turn to turn as well. And the way that works is, in your deck, everybody has the same 6 cards, which are the Wulong cards. Those are the currency. But then you have 4 cards that are unique to each character. So this is the Jet deck, with these 6 cards and these 4 cards. You also have random market cards that are over here. There's always 5 different ones showing, and there's a market deck over there. Whenever you buy a card, you take a new one to replace it. And certain cards will do multiple things, like this card gives you a special benefit if you've already played a Faye Valentine card on your turn. It gives you 1 clue point, but also will give you 2 extra Wulongs if you'd also played a Faye card. So those are bonus cards to play. You kind of want to pay attention when you're buying cards. So this card gives you 2 fuel. So when you play that, you're just going to go up on your scoring track here to 3. This card gives you Wulongs. This gives you Wulongs and 1 clue. This gives you a fuel and a damage. So you're going to be moving from the Bebop, where everybody starts, to the different planets that are out here. There's Earth, Ganymede, and Mars. So say you want to go to Mars over here. It costs 1 fuel to go to Mars. So Jet would have got 2 fuel and 1 fuel here, going up to 4. Everybody starts at 1. But then you spend 1, going back down to 3 to move Jet over to Mars. Now, Jet can do 1 damage because of this card he played. And then when you do that, you're going to take a token off of this, showing that you did 1 damage, and you put that on your player card. Once 3 of these are gone, the criminal's captured. So multiple people can then trade those tokens in for what's called a renown token once the criminal's taken in. So you might have 2 going to 1 player, 1 going to another player. People get a benefit, so it's got kind of a semi-co-op aspect, but there is a definite winner to the game. Once you damage one of the criminals, you also have to take a damage card off of this deck and do whatever it says. This says put this card on top of your deck. But then when you draw it the next time, you remove this card from the game. So the idea being you took damage and then you can, it gums up your deck because you're hurt. So I think that's a very cool aspect of this game as well. Jet has the ability, since he's a medic, to spend fuel to remove damage cards from his deck. So there's different elements of the different characters where they have abilities that are kind of similar to what they do in the show. Edward here can spend 3 fuel to get a clue. When you're trying to take out a criminal, a lot of them cost 1 damage point to take out a damage token, but they might take 2 clues to take out a clue token. So in this case, he played a card that gave you 1 clue, and then if you were Edward, you could spend 3 fuel to get a second clue, and then you could take a clue token as well. So like I said, every character has different abilities that are benefit. Faye is always after money. She can spend fuel to get money, and so on. So that's just a general idea of what happens when you're playing the cards. When you're buying cards, just like most deck builders, they go into your discard pile, then they end up getting shuffled back into your deck. Every time you take out a criminal, let's say this guy got removed because all the tokens were taken off of him. You can either remove them from fighting or from clues. You don't need to take them all off. But as soon as one of those stacks is depleted, you take this criminal, let's say Jet took him down, you get this card. This card's worth 0 points by itself. He's one of the small level baddies, but sometimes they're worth 1 or 2 points. And then you would trade in whatever tokens you have for renown tokens at that point. Then you take 2 cards off of here, 1 at a time. This is a Mars criminal, so that's going to go right back onto Mars and fills up that space. The second one you take out, this would go to Earth. So this is Earth over here. Since somebody's already on Earth, this is removed from game. The criminal basically escapes. And then this goes from 1 fuel to 2 fuel, which means it costs 2 now to go to Earth. This will go from 1 to 2 to 3 and back to 1 again. So that's going to change things throughout the game for figuring out what planets you want to go to take down criminals. This is the Big Shot deck, which is a very cool little thing for the game, which is set up like just the screen in the show where they have the Big Shot deck, and then the guy's out here and he's like, "Wowee, partner, come on out and we're going to catch some criminals, whatever." And so the criminals keep coming off of here until eventually Vicious comes out. Once Vicious comes out, then he's going to move from planet to planet, and you're all working together to try to take him out. He has a lot of tokens on him, depending on how many players you have in the game. 9 and 5 for damage and clues, up to 13 on here. So you take all these Vicious tokens to put there, and you're trying to take him out before the game ends. So it's got kind of the semi-co-op aspect where you're working together to take Vicious out of the game. That's the basics of the game, really.
What are the winning conditions?
The winning conditions are capturing Vicious, but that doesn't win you the game. That ends the game. And then at the end of the game, whoever has the most renown tokens wins the game. And so you're going to get these when you take out the criminals, and you also get renown from the cards themselves.
And of course, there is a chance that everybody loses.
Yes, if you don't take down Vicious. But as soon as you take down Vicious, whoever has the most points would win.
What are the plans for the game? Because I can imagine there would be opportunities for more characters, more minis, more villains. What are you going to do now?
There's another expansion being worked on right now that'll be coming out next year. And it's going to have some more stuff to it that's going to add on to it. Yeah, I don't know the full specifics on it yet.
It's good that the game is going to expand. And I can see it's got a solitary mode as well.
Yes, that's right. It is 1 to 4 players. There is a solo mode that comes with it that you work through and try to work your way through the criminal deck.
Does it work with just one character or a combination of characters? How does the solo mode work?
So anytime you play the game, you actually play with all 4 characters. You don't necessarily play with the character card, But let's say you're going to play a 2-player game, you'd still have all 4 characters out. And actually, one thing I didn't mention is if you are on the same space as another character, let's say Jet and Faye are over here, Jet can still use this ability of phase because they're in the same spot. And that same thing will happen when you're moving around, even if you're playing a solo mode, because you can move an NPC, a non-player character, when you play certain cards. Like this one here says you may move 1 NPC for free. So there's ways to move the characters to be able to use their abilities as well.
And when you are playing with more people, say in a 4-player game, and you have this combination, would Jet still be able to use these phase abilities, or whatever the other player decides that they can use?
If they're on the same space, then yes. If they're both on the Bebop, both on a planet together, you can use those. Even if all 4 of them are here, any player could use one of the 2 abilities. Okay. You'll notice each character has 2 abilities that they can use, but you can only use one of the player's abilities that are on the card like that.
That sounds surprisingly simple. What am I missing?
Well, the way the gameplay builds, as you're adding many more cards to the deck, there's actually quite a bit more that happens with more advanced cards. But at the beginning, it's just the basic cards that I went through. The really interesting thing about this is that it's not just a deck building game, it is also a board game with the minis and how they move from planet to planet. Obviously with most deck builders, you're just playing cards. You don't have the fuel resource that I mentioned earlier, and then the damage cards that go in your deck that will gum things up, makes it so you would rather use interrogation or getting clues to take down the criminals because you don't take the damage cards. That's why I personally like to work with Ed, because Ed is a hacker. So Ed's out there trying to, go like this and get clues and all of that. And so Ed is able to use fuel to get more clues to take out the criminals as well.
Sounds very good. This is already available. People can buy it without an issue. So Christmas is served.
Oh, yes. We actually got the prototype of this game a couple years ago for Christmas, and my family played it over and over and over and over on the holidays.
Great, thank you very much. This looks absolutely lovely. Really like how simple it seems, but how much depth this game can have. So all the success. Eric, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Good to see you again.
And you too.
Thank you.